The hospital was unusually quiet that rainy afternoon. The corridors smelled of antiseptic and rain-soaked pavement, the soft hum of fluorescent lights filling the air. But among the steady rhythm of footsteps and murmured conversations, one sound pierced through everything, a small, trembling voice. "My hand hurts so much." The cry belonged to a little girl sitting on the edge of an emergency room bed. Her hair was tangled and damp from the rain, her pink dress torn and covered in dust. She looked no older than 6. Her tiny hand was swollen and scraped, the skin raw as if she had fallen or been dragged. Nurse Emma bent down beside her, her heart breaking. "It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe here," she said softly, reaching for a clean cloth. The girl flinched when Emma touched her hand. "It hurts," she whimpered again, her voice no louder than a whisper. Emma nodded gently. "I know, baby. We'll fix it right up, okay? Can you tell me your name?" The girl looked down, clutching the edge of the blanket tightly. After a long silence, she murmured, Lily. "That's a beautiful name," Emma said with a smile. "And where's your mommy or daddy, Lily?" Lily's lips quivered. "Daddy." "Daddy's coming." Emma's chest tightened. The way the child said it, soft but certain, made her pause. "He's coming. Do you know where he is?" Lily shook her head. He said, "He'll find me if I get lost." The nurse's smile faded. She looked at the attending doctor standing nearby, who gave a quiet nod. They had seen this before, children left behind, lost, or worse. Outside, thunder rumbled. Rain streaked across the tall windows, blurring the view of the city beyond. The hospital's security guard entered the room, carrying a small bag found near where Lily had been discovered, by the roadside, just a few blocks from a construction site. "No ID, no note. Anything inside?" Emma asked. The guard shook his head. "Just a stuffed bunny, old and dirty, probably all she had." Emma sighed and glanced back at Lily, who was now clutching the bunny tightly with her good hand. Her eyes were red from crying, but she looked strangely calm now, as if she was just waiting. Hours passed. The nurses tried giving her soup, a blanket, and even a new toy from the children's ward. She refused them all. She just kept whispering to herself, "Daddy will come. Daddy always comes." The staff began to worry. No one had come asking for a missing girl. The police were notified, and an officer was expected soon. But just as Emma reached for the phone to call again, the hospital doors burst open with a force that startled everyone. A man in a dark trench coat strode in, his shoes splashing against the wet floor. His sharp jawline and commanding presence made heads turn instantly. His expression was pure panic, eyes darting, scanning the waiting area as though every second mattered. "Where's the child?" he demanded breathlessly at the reception desk. The young receptionist froze. "Sir, what child?" "A little girl," he snapped, voice breaking slightly. 6 years old, brown hair. Her name is Lily. Emma's heart skipped. She hurried out from the emergency room. "Are you Mr. Hale?" she asked, recognizing the name from the police contact form they'd filled out. He turned sharply toward her. "Yes, Alexander Hale. Where is she? Is she safe?" Emma nodded and led him quickly down the corridor. "She's okay, sir. Just a few bruises and a swollen hand. She's been waiting for you." When they entered the room, Lily looked up at the sound of footsteps. For a moment, her eyes widened in disbelief. Then she broke into tears. "Daddy!" Alexander's entire body seemed to collapse with relief. He rushed forward, dropping to his knees beside the bed. "Oh my God. Lily," he whispered, his voice shaking as he gathered her into his arms. "I've been looking everywhere for you." The nurses stood silently, watching the reunion. Lily's tiny arms wrapped around his neck as she sobbed into his shoulder. "I fell, Daddy. I hurt my hand," she cried. Alexander held her tighter. "It's okay, sweetheart. I've got you. You're safe now. Daddy's here." Emma turned away, blinking back tears. The man holding the child wasn't just any father. He was Alexander Hale, a billionaire businessman whose face had been on the cover of Forbes more than once. Known for his empire of luxury hotels and ruthless boardroom decisions, he was the last person anyone expected to see kneeling on a hospital floor, weeping over a little girl. But in that moment, none of that mattered. He wasn't a billionaire. He was just a terrified father. Where did you find her? He asked Emma when Lily finally fell asleep against his chest. She was found near a construction site downtown, Emma said quietly. A man called the hospital after spotting her alone. She didn't say much, just that her hand hurt and that her daddy would come. Alexander clenched his jaw. That construction site is near my new hotel project. She must have wandered out while I was at the meeting. His voice trailed off, guilt washing over him. Emma hesitated. Sir, she mentioned a lady at home. Do you know who that might be? His brows furrowed. The nanny, probably. I left her in charge. But if she let Lily out of the house... He stopped, his eyes darkening. She'll answer for it. The tension in his voice sent a chill down Emma's spine. Just then, Lily stirred in his arms, mumbling softly. Daddy, don't let the lady yell again. Alexander froze. What lady, sweetheart? He asked gently. But Lily had already drifted back to sleep. He stared at her small, injured hand, and then at the nurse. I want full security reports from my house. Now, call my driver. Emma nodded, but she couldn't help wondering, who was this man really? The headlines painted him as powerful, even cold. Yet here he was, holding his daughter like she was the only thing that kept him breathing. Outside, the storm had quieted, the lights of the city reflected in the glass windows, glittering like distant stars. As Alexander sat there beside the hospital bed, his mind raced. Something wasn't right. His daughter had been missing for 3 hours before anyone noticed. She'd been hurt and afraid, and now she had whispered something that changed everything. Don't let the lady yell again. He didn't know it yet, but that single line would lead to a truth far darker than he ever imagined. The morning light filtered through the hospital blinds, touching Lily's sleeping face with a soft glow. Her small hand was wrapped in a clean bandage now, resting against her chest. Beside her sat Alexander Hale, the man the world called the Steel Billionaire. But right now, the powerful businessman looked nothing like the man who built empires. His eyes were bloodshot from a sleepless night, and his hand never once left his daughter's. When the doctor entered quietly, Alexander looked up immediately. How is she? He asked, his voice low but edged with tension. She'll be fine, the doctor replied. Just minor bruising on her wrist and hand. But Mr. Hale, he paused, choosing his words carefully. The pattern of the injury suggests it wasn't from a fall. It looks like someone grabbed her tightly, possibly more than once. Alexander froze. For a moment, the entire room seemed to go silent. He glanced at Lily's hand, the small fingers now hidden under white gauze, and something inside him broke. Someone. Grabbed her? He repeated, his voice trembling with anger. The doctor nodded slowly. We're not accusing anyone, of course. But the marks are consistent with force, not accident. Alexander stood up, his mind spinning. He turned toward Nurse Emma, who had stayed by Lily's side since last night. You said she mentioned a lady before she fell asleep. Did she say anything else? Emma hesitated. Just that she didn't want the lady to yell again. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, fury tightening his jaw. That lady must be Vanessa. Vanessa Cole, his fiancée, the glamorous socialite the tabloids adored. She'd moved into his mansion 6 months ago, claiming to help him raise Lily after her mother's passing. Alexander had trusted her, believing she cared. Now he wasn't so sure. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was a message from his security chief. Sir, we reviewed last night's footage. At 4:12 p.m., Miss Vanessa was seen leaving the property. The gate camera shows Miss Lily outside alone, less than 10 minutes later. Alexander's grip tightened around the phone. 10 minutes. That's all it took for his daughter to get hurt and lost. He turned to Emma. Please stay with her. I'll be back. Without waiting for a reply, he strode out of the hospital room, his bodyguards falling into step behind him. His black car was already waiting outside, engine running. Home, he ordered curtly. The ride was silent except for the hum of the rain against the windows. Alexander stared out at the city, the empire he'd built, the world he controlled, and realized how meaningless it all felt compared to the small, fragile child sleeping alone in that hospital bed. When the car pulled into the mansion's driveway, Vanessa was already waiting on the front steps. Dressed in a white silk robe, she looked more annoyed than worried. "Oh, Alex, thank God you're back," she began, her voice dripping with artificial concern. "I was so worried." "I didn't sleep at all." "Really?" he said coldly. "Then why didn't you call the police?" Vanessa's smile faltered. I thought she might have gone to the garden." "You know how children are. Children don't walk barefoot through rain and end up near a construction site." Alexander cut in sharply. "Where were you, Vanessa?" Her lips parted, but no words came. He stepped closer. "Security cameras show you left the house at 4:12 p.m., alone. My daughter was outside 10 minutes later. You didn't call me, didn't alert anyone, and didn't notice she was missing for over 3 hours. I had a meeting. You know how important the charity event was," she snapped defensively. Alexander's expression hardened. "A charity event? While my daughter was bleeding on the street?" Vanessa rolled her eyes, trying to recover her composure. "You're overreacting, Alex. Kids get scratches." She probably felt. "Those aren't scratches," he thundered, slamming his hand on the table beside them. "The doctor said someone grabbed her, and Lily said it was the lady at home." The color drained from Vanessa's face. She's lying," she stammered. "You know how children make things up." "Enough," he said coldly. His voice dropped, dangerous and low. "You yelled at her, didn't you? You hurt her. You thought I'd never find out." She backed away, her tone turning pleading. "Alex, please. You know how stressful it's been. She's been impossible lately, crying all the time, asking for her mother." "Because she's 6 years old," he roared. "And her mother is gone. You were supposed to love her, not treat her like a burden." Tears filled Vanessa's eyes, but Alexander wasn't moved. He turned toward his head of security. "Escort Miss Cole out. She's not to step foot in this house again." "Alex, please. You can't do this to me," she screamed, her voice echoing through the hall. "I just did," he said without looking back. The guards led her away as her protests faded into the rain outside. The heavy mansion doors closed with a final echoing thud. For a long moment, Alexander stood there, staring at the marble floor, feeling the full weight of what had happened. His wealth, his fame, his power, none of it had protected the one person who mattered most. Hours later, he returned to the hospital. Lily was awake, sitting up in bed, clutching her stuffed bunny. When she saw him, her face lit up. "Daddy!" she cried, reaching out her good hand. He smiled softly and sat beside her. "I'm here, Princess. I'm so sorry I wasn't sooner." She looked at him with big, innocent eyes. "Is the lady gone?" He nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. She's gone. She'll never yell again." Lily smiled faintly and rested her head against his arm. "I knew you'd come." Alexander brushed a strand of hair from her face and whispered, "I'll always come, no matter what." That evening, when the reporters arrived at the hospital after hearing whispers of what had happened, Alexander refused interviews. The world would later call it the billionaire's redemption. Magazines praised him for protecting his daughter, painting him as a hero who traded arrogance for fatherhood. But the truth was far simpler. Alexander didn't care about redemption or reputation. All he cared about was the small heartbeat resting beside him, the sound that reminded him why he was alive. He promised himself that day, no bodyguard, no nanny, no amount of money would ever come between him and his daughter again. As night fell, he carried Lily out of the hospital in his arms. The rain had stopped, and the air smelled fresh, like a new beginning. She looked up at him sleepily and whispered, "Daddy, my hand doesn't hurt anymore." He smiled, his eyes glistening. "That's because Daddy's got you now." And for the first time in years, Alexander Hale, the man the world thought had everything, finally felt whole. Because the richest man in the world wasn't the one with the biggest empire. It was the one holding his daughter close, walking out of a hospital, knowing love was the only thing worth keeping.